Hello, I'm Brian, your host. I'm with Janet, our guest. She is a 20-year veteran of Doberman Pinschers. Janet has come from 2.5 hours away to be with us today to share her knowledge and her experience, and I'm very excited she's here. Janet, where do you want to start at?
Let's start with the history of the breed.
Cool.
The breed was developed by a gentleman that was a tax collector. He developed the breed to be his personal protection animal. People didn't like him, and the dog had to keep up with a horse and a man who was traveling. And not only was he a tax collector, but he was the butcher for the town. Okay. He was the animal shelter. He had the means to take care of the dogs. Okay. And develop the breed. The Manchester Terrier used to be much smaller. I mean, the Doberman used to be very much smaller than they are now. In the history of the breed, they were a relatively 45, 50-pound dog. In the early 1900s, he brought over the dogs for AKC to look at and
from Germany.
From Germany
to the U.S.
Yes, he brought them over from Germany, and at first AKC said no. They didn't want to accept the breed. The breed was a little too aggressive, a little too sharp. So he took the dogs back to Germany and bred in the Greyhound. And I believe he bred in Weimaraner. And when they softened the temperament, they then brought the dogs over. We have a foundation that is the Doberman Pinscher, the American Doberman Pinscher Education Foundation. Okay. They have a website. They talk about the history of the Doberman, where they came from, how they were developed, year by year, how the standard was written originally. The American standard was taken from the German standard, and the development of the breed. There's a blueprint for the dogs. Okay. And it goes literally decade by decade. And
is it a new breed?
It's relatively a new breed. The Doberman's been around just about 100 years in America.
Okay. I would imagine that's pretty recent.
Pretty recent. This is kind of funny. People will see a miniature Pinscher and a miniature Doberman. They go, that's a miniature Doberman. No, actually the miniature Pinscher is a breed that's been around for 200 years. Oh, wow. Much longer than the Doberman. They are not a miniature Doberman. They are a completely different breed. Okay. So they're not a miniature version of the Doberman.
Interesting.
The Dobermans are absolutely one of the smartest dogs. They are not the number one smart dog. Okay. They're high on that list.
Nice.
But they're an amazing animal. They are developed to be a personal protection animal. I don't even know.
They got their tax money.
They did.
They got their tax money.
They did protect Mr. Doberman. His last name was Doberman. Louis Doberman, and then his son, Herr Doberman. These dogs were developed to do a job.
Why did they dock their tails?
So there's a couple of theories behind that. The tails and the ears were both docked and cropped. If you have 2 people, 3 people, a group of men, and they're going to try to get you, and you have a dog that comes up and says, I'm going to get you back. Somebody can grab the dog by the tail, they can grab the dog by the ears.
I just wasn't sure if that was lore.
And so they started cropping and docking the dog to give less handles. They used to crop the Dobermans with a very short ear crop called the military crop. Okay. Now the more Dobermans nowadays, you do see the short military crop, but what you commonly see is that beautiful ear crop with the curves and and it just expounds on the beauty of the dog.
It does.
So it just brings out the character of the face, and there are people who believe it's cruel. It is done under anesthesia. Okay. The puppies are given antibiotics. They are given painkillers. People are like, And people have commented to my dogs, how can you do that? And then my answer is, well, if you take your dog to have her spayed, she comes home from the vet. There's no painkillers. There's no antibiotics.
Yeah, right.
She's just had abdominal surgery. She may not eat for 2 or 3 days. She's not going to feel good. My puppies, they wake up from anesthesia and they say, where's my food? How can we play? Let's start playing.
Yeah, they've moved on.
It is a different procedure. It's, a lot of people feel that it's unnecessary. Those countries have outlawed it. To me, the look of the Doberman is with the cropped ears.
Right.
It is just what
it's not new. It's been around since the beginning.
Exactly. And who am I to say, oh, we can't do that? It's been done by my peers. It's been done by people who know a lot more than I do, who've been around a lot longer than I have. So that's,
Do the AKC, do they require it?
In some venues.
Okay.
So we can like the AK confirmation classes. The AKC confirmation is actually the overall structure of the dog, how the dog is put together, the bones, the angles. Yes, we actually have 45 and 95 degree angles on our dogs. The dogs are measured by height. The height should not be any taller than they are long. The Dobermans are supposed to be a medium-sized breed, square in structure. Some females can be 10% longer in body than height. Okay. They just want to give a little more room for the carriage of puppies. Sure. So they want to have a square dog. The AKC standard was written using the FCI standard. The FCI standard is the German standard. And the standard for me, I don't know about other breeders, but for me, it's my blueprint. It is written so I know what male to pick to breed to what female and pray, because my dogs, just when you're playing with genetics, you don't always get what he or she looks like. Right. So there's a lot of hope.
Sure,
in
absolutely.
That. A lot of hope in that. We try not to breed oversized Dobermans. We try not to breed too small. We want them to be a medium dog.
Now, a King Doberman. Can you touch on that just for a second?
So, I'm going to say rumor has it, because old-time breeders who were doing the breed in the 60s, 70s, somebody said that there was a group of people who were crossbreeding Dobermans with, say, a Great Dane or a Mastiff. Okay. Making these big, again, Doberman-looking dogs, but they were big, too big.
That's not what they were intended for to begin with.
Absolutely not. Right, They're supposed to be extremely athletic. Okay. They're supposed to be able to keep up with a horse. In judging the Dobermans, the judges watch them do a single track, which is where the front foot is picked up, the hind foot falls into that spot. Okay. That's how they're supposed to single track.
Is that right?
But a Doberman is technically a loping breed to keep up with the horse. Okay. They were developed to keep up with a horse. But when the judges are looking at them, they're watching how the dog single tracks when they trot, because they need to cover a lot of ground with very little exertion. So they're very high in endurance. We talk about the life expectancy of the Dobermans. The Dobermans, some can live to be very old. Okay.
What year would that be? What's 10 years?
13.
13?
14.
Wow.
I do have some people that I do know that have had them 14. Wow. My experience, the oldest Doberman that I've had in my home has been 13. Okay. The health of the Dobermans is key. It is, anybody who's considering getting a Doberman has to know what they're getting into. They have a lot of health issues. I can hit on several of them, but the number one issue is the dilated cardiomyopathy. It is the number one killer of our breed. It is higher than cancer.
Oh, wow.
I've read statistics where they say 70% of the Dobermans on the planet won't see their 7th birthday.
Yeah.
Other people have said, no, it's not quite that high. It's 58%. It just depends on what research you're reading.
Right.
So do your homework.
Yeah.
If this is a breed that you're considering about getting, do your homework, because it's just, there's so many issues that they do have.
What would be the average expectancy that
7 to 10.
7 to 10? Okay.
7 to 10. I tell people, if you get a 10-year-old Doberman, you're on borrowed time.
Yeah, right.
You know,
for sure.
And it's heartbreaking. Dobermans used to live 14, 15, no problem in the 70s. I'll share a little personal story. When I was 14, I sold a quarter horse. I bought my first Doberman. What 14-year-old girl sells a horse to buy a dog?
Yeah.
Been in my blood a minute, you know?
Yeah, right.
I got my first Doberman, and
wow.
I lost her when I was 22.
Okay.
She was the reason why. She was the reason why I do this now.
Yeah, is that right? It started that young.
Just to start, I'm trying to preserve the breed. I'm trying to do what I can do. I work with the universities. There's several of them across the country that I work with. I call them on a regular basis. I'm on first name basis with a lot of cardiologists, you know, because I just want to make sure that I'm doing the best I can do. Can I stop it? No.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee. We have health testing. We have parts of a puzzle.
So nobody, it's not your dog. Nobody is immune to.
No, it is one of those things where we have health testing that we can do, and we can do the best of the health testing, and we can do it frequently, and we can have dogs that are clear on the DNA markers for it and drop dead at 7 years old. Yeah. We can have dogs that are what they call homozygous, carrying a gene from both parents. Okay. Yeah. And be homozygous DCM1 and 2 and live to be 10, 12, 13 years old. It doesn't necessarily have to kill them, even though they have the genetic marker for the disease. Okay. The cancer, there's a high propensity of cancer in the breed. We try to use the Doberman Pinscher Club of America. When our dogs get to be 10 years old, we get a longevity certificate. Oh. And those are certificates that we are attached to our dogs by their pedigree. So we use that information when we're breeding. We try to find the females that have the LC certificates behind them, not necessarily their parents, but their grandparents, their great-grandparents. And we find a male who has those longevity certificates. At some point, in my opinion, the longevity should supersede the DCM genetics, should supersede the cancer genetics. Should. Yeah. Will it? I don't know. Yeah. It's just the best I can do. Yeah, it's just a part of the puzzle. Sure. So
I understand.
The health, again, they do have a lot of health issues. Finding people who are really doing the health testing is key. Can they stop it? Again, no. Yeah. But at least they're supporting the science behind it by doing the health testing.
Right. What about like energy and barking and that?
So the Dobermans are very high energy, especially youngsters. I have a 7-month-old puppy at home right now. She's my reindeer. She is very active. But also, again, like any child, if you look at these puppies, you're bringing up a puppy. It's just like a child. You let them run outside and they go do a sprint across the yard. They go out and play. It's what I call blow off steam. Sure. They come in the house, they get their bellies full, they curl up on a warm blanket and they go to sleep. Yeah.
Do they do zoomies?
They do zoomies.
Do they?
They get the zoomies. They get the zoomies. I have 5 Dobermans. The youngest is 7 months. The oldest is 11 years.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday, they were outside howling at me. They were howling, and my friend was at the house visiting, and she said, "I thought only Huskies did that."
I've never known Dobermans to howl.
Dobermans howl.
Okay.
And they sing to their people, as that's what we call it. They're singing the songs of their people. They can be very noisy. They have high energy. They can be very, very destructive. Very destructive in your home. They need to have an environment where they can just go blow off steam.
Right.
You know, they just need to go decompress, run around, have somebody go out, throw a ball. It's not necessarily put them on a leash and take them for that 20-minute walk.
Right.
That 20-minute walk is good. It's training. It's sit down, stay, come, heel. That's all the things that you must train your dog to do to be a society.
Sure, absolutely.
But your dog also needs to have the ability for you to say, hey, let's go run.
Yeah, a park.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dog parks are not my friend.
Okay.
If I go to the dog park, nobody is there.
Trying to socialize with your dog, and
if I want to socialize with my dog is on a leash in an environment where I have control. I don't want my dogs to ever be put in a situation where they're attacked by another dog.
Gotcha.
Because that would ruin my dog's nature. Because now they're always looking at the other dogs going, am I going to get attacked? Do I have to defend myself? Do I have to defend my mom?
Yeah.
And that's how these dogs look at you. These dogs own you. Don't ever think in your mind, I'm going to go buy a Doberman and I own that dog. Forget it.
Right.
You bring that dog home in your truck, that's his truck. You bring that Doberman into your home, he owns your home. It's his. And
in his eyes, it's his.
In his eyes, this belongs to him. You just pay the bills. That's all you're doing. And it's very true. They own you. They own your children. They
guard.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it becomes.
He owns it.
He owns it.
He owns it.
He owns it.
She owns it. He owns it. Somebody asked me about the Doberman. How much personal space do they need? None, zero, nada.
None.
These dogs are Velcro dogs.
Yeah, they're on you.
You will you get a Doberman, you take him home, and you never use the bathroom by yourself again. I mean, and that's literally. I've come out of the shower and had 3 of them in the bathroom.
Waiting.
Yeah, they're waiting.
What took you so long?
Yeah, exactly. The Dobermans are. I cannot emphasize enough how much they need to see you to protect you.
Yeah.
People say my dog has anxiety. Why does your dog have anxiety? Well, I put him in his crate and I try to go. No, let your dog be behind you.
Right.
Let him follow you. Let him be part of your world.
Now, do you have a fence, or do you use invisible fence, or how does that work for the audience?
If you do not have a fence yard, I highly recommend the invisible fence. It works very well. Do not leave your dog unattended, because your dog cannot get away from another dog coming in.
True.
So you must always protect your dog. They do have GPS fencing now, which is very awesome.
Okay.
You can actually put a marker at your property line. So your dog wears a collar. As you get to the marker, you train your dog. The sound on the collar is beeping. Your dog is now trained to go to that marker and then come back.
Okay.
They don't go past this area. And I found that those work very well as well. Again, never leave your dog unattended.
Right.
I personally put up 5-foot non-climb horse fence with hot wire top and bottom because they can and will go over or under.
Yeah.
So my dogs are just taught to stay off the fence completely. Something else with the Dobermans is the more activity you engage with your dog, the more they develop ESP. And I that's the only way I can tell you. A friend of mine the other day put on Facebook, I love this woman with heart and soul, and her husband, he has a heart pump, and he bumped it at work and it wasn't working. And he came home and he laid down because he wasn't feeling well, and the dog was losing his mind. And Samantha went in and woke her husband up, and he was removed from the house in an ambulance. Had her dog not been in tune with his family, he would have died.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I mean, that's how these dogs are.
It's unbelievable.
They develop a sense, and I don't have words for it. I cannot articulate how in tune they become to you. And it's not, I mean, it's you, your wife, your children. It's your immediate pack.
Right.
Because they own you. You know, that's just their temperament. That is their temperament. I call them wash and wear dogs.
Okay.
People are like, what does that mean? If your Doberman goes outside, they get dirty, you take a hand towel and you dip it in some warm water and you wipe them off. They're clean.
That's pretty easy.
I mean,
for a lot of the challenges, there are some easy benefits to the dog.
Wash and wear. People will say, my dog stinks. I'll say, clean their ears. Take your dog outside, get a little ear cleaner, squirt a little, don't make it cold. Warm up your ear cleaner.
Right.
A little cotton ball,
make it nice
maybe,
for him.
you know, and let him shake his head. 9 times out of 10, when you have a smelly dog, it's their ears. It's the buildup of the dirt because they can't clean their ears. The bathing them is you put them in the shower, you rinse them off, a little baby shampoo. Less is more, in my opinion. I don't really do a whole lot of bathing with my dogs. I do, if they get dirty, I might take some apple cider vinegar and water and give them a little spritz and a wipe down. I don't have a problem with fleas. The flea treatment works great.
Okay.
You just dab it on the back of their neck, whatever your vet recommends. There's very little hair. We find hair in the vacuum cleaner and in the dryer lint. That's where the dog hair is. You won't find dog hair on your clothes. Nice. Which is really nice.
For sure.
The grooming is very, very limited. You can take a soft brush your dog. Toenails. If you can hear your dog walk across the floor, their toenails are too long.
Okay.
And you can use the guillotine style clipper and clip their toenails. You can use a Dremel. There's multitudes. You can take your dog to the groomer, spend $5. The groomer will take your dog in there, trim their toenails off, no problem. But if you can hear them, they're too long.
Okay.
Dobermans have cat-like feet. They have very tight toes. And you want to maintain that because that's what they stand on and that's what holds them up. You have to support their feet. Right. Just like us, we support our feet.
Sure. Makes sense.
Trainability on the Dobermans is once they understand what you're asking. And that's our issue. We have to be smarter than the dog because we have to be able to teach them what we need them to learn. Once they learn what we are asking of them, they will give it to us 110% of the time. It's absolute. Yeah,
that's part of the job, their job.
That's absolute. If you ask them to jump the Grand Canyon and they thought they could, they would for you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? No. You can train your dog. But your neighbor's not going to come over here and tell your dog to sit down or go to bed, go to the crate. That isn't going to happen. The dog's going to look at them and say, who are you?
Right.
That's a Doberman.
Okay.
That's very Doberman. They are sensitive. They get their feelings hurt.
Oh, really?
Dobermans are sensitive.
Are they?
If you tell your Doberman, bad dog, you have crushed him. And they'll pout. They're like a child. They're like a child. I never use my dog's name with a negative because they get their feelings hurt. If you use your dog's name with a negative, now think about this. You say your dog's name and no. then you're outside and your leash breaks. Your dog's spinning around having a party.
Yeah.
You're saying his name. You're in a little panic. Your voice may not be calm because your dog is right by the street. You've said his name. No. What's he going to do? He's going to keep going over there playing.
Okay.
But if you say his name in a positive cantation, he's always going to come to you because he's going to get that good boy.
Right.
And good boy will take him to the moon.
That's all he needs.
That's all he needs is a good boy.
Right.
That praise, that, hey, my mom loves me, my dad loves me.
Right.
It's all they need. They're really, really, really easy, but they're sensitive. You know,
that's cute. That's a good combination.
They're great dogs. They're really a great dog. Again, it's really important that you keep your Doberman, especially a young one, like a baby. You bring home a baby, he gets a few minutes of play outside until he's 5 or 6 months old. You don't want to take him for a 2-mile walk. You know, It's just too much for him.
Sure.
The more he grows, the more he develops, the more his bones come together, the more play he can do, the more you can require of him for training. You could buy an agility course and have him do the weave poles as a baby.
Okay.
You can have him do the teeter-totter as a baby. You know, These are things that you can do when they're little, teaching them to develop their skills as they grow.
Are they always learning, or is it like
nope.
up to 3 years old and then they're good?
No.
Or...
your Doberman is like, I tell people it's like living with a 5-year-old child, because they understand your 5-year-old child is doing some reading. And I kid you not, sometimes they learn to spell. So if you say Outside,
yeah, right,
because you don't want to say that word,
right,
because then you have 5 dogs bouncing.
Yeah,
they learn to spell. I kid you not.
They know what it means.
They know what it means. They learn.
Incredible.
They learn words. The more you talk to your dog, they get a great vocabulary. They don't necessarily know what individual things are. Something's laying out in the yard. Go get that. He will go get that because you asked him to go get what is not normally there.
Okay.
He doesn't know what that is. Maybe it's the Frisbee that came over the fence from the kids next door.
Right.
But he's going to go get it because you asked him to go get that.
And he knows what that is.
He knows that you said, go get it. Go get it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Interesting.
He will go try to bring it to you because he knows what go get it means. The more you do with your dogs, the more time you have with your dogs, the better your dog is. They do like companionship. So if you get a puppy, and let's say you're at home, COVID, a lot of people got puppies in COVID, and now they're going back to work. People are now buying that second dog. Their dog is trained, but they're gone for 6 hours, 7 hours a day.
Yes. They're
working. So get your dog a friend. I don't suggest letting your friends run your house when you're not home.
Clear.
Okay, you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But you have that friend for your dog. So when you do get home, you open the door. They're now playing in the backyard. You have a few minutes to decompress. Your dog is now, let's say they've been in a crate for the day because you've had to go to work. Your dog needs to be safe. Their safety is key. So now your dog is in their mind, in their crate for the day. You're at work. You're in your mind. You both need to decompress. So you come home, you open the door, your dogs go outside to play together. You can come in, you can start doing your chores or whatever you need to take care of from the day. Then your dogs come in, they've decompressed, you've decompressed. You can start your relationship without any fuss, any stress.
So you do recommend crating while you're out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I recommend when you get a puppy, they have a crate and an X pen. I don't recommend crating puppies. I personally don't think it's fair to take a 10, 12-week-old puppy. They can't hold their bladder.
Sure.
They just can't. You can't put them in a crate for 8 hours. They will pee-pee in their crate. That becomes a habit of pee-peeing in their crate. So if you set your puppy up to fail, they will. So I highly recommend a crate with an X-pen. Their bed goes in the crate. The X-pen, you can put down, I don't know, you can put down a tray full of pellets if you want to potty train your dog that way. You can put down a pee-pee pad. They do shred them. Puppies like to shred pee-pee pads. But then your puppy has food and water. So they're not starving when you get home because they've had food during the day.
I like to eat all day.
They do too. They do too.
Sure.
It's just one of those things that we have to, kind of step out of the box a little bit. And I mean, I would say this for all dogs. They all need a safe space. My dogs have to be safe. I do crate my dogs when I go to bed at night. Not all of them.
Sure.
Not all of them.
No, of course not. The adults.
Well, I have Baron, who's 11. He sleeps on my couch. He's old. He's arthritic. And if I put him in a crate, he wakes up sore in the morning.
Yeah,
it's not fair to him. He can have my couch. I have Candy. She's his granddaughter. Candy's 7. She's a little older. She's a little stove up. She sleeps on the couch too. I have 2 2-year-olds that I raised together out of 2 different litters. Those guys, my best friends just knocked on my door. That's their temperament. They're young. As they grow older, they're going to turn, and not everybody will be their friend. So the puppies start off with everybody's their friend. You get a puppy and you want your puppy to guard your house, you don't introduce your puppy to your friends.
Okay.
You don't. You have company over, your puppy gets put away.
Is that right?
If you want a guard dog, if you want a dog that's going to protect your property.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you just don't introduce them to friends and family. You keep your dog away.
The frequency of guests that come over, who they are, and how you deal with that dictates if you're going to crate them.
Absolutely.
Or introduce them.
Absolutely.
Depending on the job. If you want them to be a guard dog, you don't introduce them to people that they don't need to know.
Exactly.
Okay.
The repairman that comes over and fixes your refrigerator or your washing machine, your dog does not need to meet those people.
Right. Understood.
Children. Your dog must meet children. I will share a funny story with you. This is hilarious. I shouldn't share this but I'm going to. I have adult children who have keys to my house. My dogs will not allow them in my house. They know my children.
Right.
My grandchildren, however, can put the code in my garage, break in the dog door.
Yeah.
And the party on. The kids are there. Hey, my kids are here. Children. Your dogs need to be introduced to children. Your dogs need to learn that children are children. They're littles.
Right.
Because once the dog learns that a little is safe, that little will always be protected no matter who that little is.
That's cute.
We had a big party at the house, birthday party, and one of the parents was going to walk to my fence and pick their child up over the fence. That was not going to happen.
Is that right? The dogs intervened.
Well, they just body blocked. They protected the kid. Nobody got aggressive about it. They just said, nope, this is mine. It's in my yard. This belongs to me. Again, the Doberman ownership.
Yeah, right.
And the Doberman doesn't, people have this perception where they're always showing teeth and because of movies.
True.
That's not.
It is intimidating when they growl.
Well,
you run for your life.
But that is not atypical Doberman behavior. When you have somebody walk into your house, your dog doesn't turn into a vicious maniac. It's more of like the stalker who is going to walk up to you or the stranger, and they're going to make contact. You're not going to be told, hey, I'm going to come bite you. Bark, 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 bark. The dog's going to walk up and say, get out.
Okay.
And it's not, I mean, like I said, I've got 4 adults. I got a puppy coming up. Every one of my adult dogs will tell you to get out. So that's, again, the temperament part of the breed. And my dogs are not trained to do that.
Okay.
The
activities,
your Doberman, there is a plethora of things, kennels, kennel clubs in every state. They have barn hunt where they stack bales of hay, and they have these, I guess they're rats in little cages.
Okay.
The cages are stuffed between hay bales. You have to learn how to read your dog, because once your dog finds the rat, you have to say rat. So this is training for you to read your dog.
Wow.
They love that game. Their animals are not hurt. The rats are never hurt. These are usually somebody's pet rats. It's just to get the dogs to smell. Sure. They have dock diving.
I have seen that.
Dock diving, Dobermans love it. They do love it. Any kind of scent work where they can put their nose to a job. It really, really, Dobermans really like scent work.
That's something I never really thought that Dobermans did.
They love the scent work. Because of the genetics behind the Doberman with the hunting dogs are there. Not only are they a sight dog, but they're a scent dog as well. And they do, I mean, I know people who use Dobermans to hunt with. They hunt with these animals, and they do really well out in the field hunting birds. They don't point like a pointer, but they will stop. And they will say, hey, there's something right there.
Yeah, that's something I never heard.
I never knew
that.
A Doberman they're a multi-purpose dog. They can herd, they can hunt. They're guardian dogs. You can train a Doberman to do almost anything.
Very trainable. I never knew that. So thank you for sharing that.
They're super smart.
Yeah, they overcome anything with their intelligence.
They can. They're also very stubborn. They can be very, very stubborn. They will know exactly what you're saying when you're saying it. And they will look at you and say, really? Not today.
Okay.
They can be very stubborn. Huh. A way to a Doberman's heart and through the stubbornness is through the taste buds.
Okay.
So when I tell people, when you're training your puppy, the greater the reward, the greater the expectation.
Is that right? Kind of like me.
Exactly. So, I mean, that really helps too.
Sure.
So
vitamins and stuff like that.
I feed my dogs a supplement through New Vet. It helps the immune system of the animal. It's just basically natural herbs and stuff like you would take, like I would take. It's a supplement. Okay. I'm not going to call it a vitamin.
Gotcha.
But it helps support the immune system of the dogs. I have just recently learned that they're putting fillers in dog foods. I knew they were putting fillers in dog foods. We all know they're putting fillers in dog foods. Except for they're putting fillers in dog foods that increase estrogen levels. So when you increase the estrogen level in your male dogs, it can cause prostate issues. So if you have a male dog that is a breeding animal, the last thing you want to do is start messing with his estrogen levels and the testosterone level in his body. So I avoid most, not all foods, because almost
You're specific.
I'm very, very picky about what I feed my dogs because of the estrogen levels. But they're also adding taurine blocker ingredients now too. So you'll be reading dilated cardiomyopathy is linked to foods, can be linked to certain foods, grain-free foods. You need a complex carbohydrate to absorb the taurine out of the meat that's in our food. And some people are going to agree with that. Some people are not. That is okay. I just know
that's your prerogative.
That's what I've read.
Sure.
I've read in order to absorb the most out of the meat, you need a complex carbohydrate. So in my case, I use rice. Rice is not estrogen increasing, nor is it taurine blocking.
Okay.
Some people prefer to use sweet potatoes. So taurine is only found in meat. So you give your dog meat with a potato, sweet potato, peas, legumes, all that stuff. You're blocking the dog's ability to absorb the taurine. So for me, if the taurine is being blocked by these ingredients, I try to avoid them.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
That's
Yeah.
just something that I do.
Sure.
I do know that there are people out there who are going to say, oh my gosh, you need to feed raw. You can. But just make sure that you feed raw with carbohydrates.
Okay.
And not taurine blocking carbohydrates. You got to know there's a fine line
Sure.
there.
Sure. Gotcha.
So.
And then you mentioned Nuvet.
Nuvet is a supplement that I buy, that I get for my dogs.
That's Nuvet. They're not a sponsor,
right?
But
it's mostly herbs and natural stuff. It really helps the immune system for the dogs. If your dogs have an allergy, it doesn't prevent it, but it just helps with it. Nuvet has a product for dogs that have arthritis. It's called Nuvet Joint. And it does have, we've seen differences in our dogs on the product. My male's 11. He's stove up. He's kind of, he gets around, but he's sore. When he's taking the Nuvet, he's not as sore. It seems like, so it does help.
Sure, you like it.
It does help, yes.
Good.
I do
Good. What are the colors? What are the colors that you can have?
AKC in Europe. Let's go back to Europe,
sure.
where the breed originated. So they had the black and tan, the classic black and tan. That is what everybody bred for. And then I'm not sure what the combination was to get the red and rust. That was also allowed. So the black and tan, the red and rust were allowed.
What's red and rust?
Red and rust. So you have black and rust, red and rust.
Oh, okay.
So the brown ones that look brown with the tan markings or the rust markings.
Yes, I understand.
Technically, in Europe, it's brown and rust. In America, we call it red and rust.
Gotcha.
Okay. In Europe, those are the two colors that they allow. I have a friend that lives in Finland. She wants black and only black.
Really?
They only want black.
That's interesting. I see black probably the most rare. Mm-hmm. At least,
In this country, they allow the black and rust, the red and rust, the blue and rust, and the fawn and rust. And now a lot of people say black and tan, but technically it's rust.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand what you were saying in the beginning.
Right.
Rust is what I thought, but you're saying rust like rust. I got you. That's
they in the standard. Our standard says that the rust markings on the face and on the legs should be as dark as the eye color. So, and that is another part of the standard. The eyes should be very brown, very dark, very, very dark. It's just part of the breed standard. And I try to follow that. Like I said before, I didn't write the rules. I just follow them.
Sure. Of course. Of course.
On that note, the 4 allowed colors can be shown in conformation for the Dobermans. So that particular venue allows those 4 colors. If you have the albino, no, they are not white. They are not cream. They are albino. Period. The end. That's a hill I will die on. The genetics, the history, everything behind them, they are albino. They had a mutated gene in the 70s from somebody that was breeding a bunch of dogs, and the mother was the sister of the brother who was the father, and she had a white puppy. Her name was Shiva. And that was rare, exotic. Let's promote this.
Yeah, right.
Let's make more of this. It's a mutated gene from inbreeding. And here we are, 30, 40 years later, and we still have people breeding the white ones. And
Are they blind or? I've heard
No.
not that breed, but a different breeds.
so the albino Doberman can be, for the most part, a healthy dog.
Oh, really?
They can.
Oh, wow.
You can have a black dog from an albino mother or father. They have a special registry because AKC has them listed as a WZ on the registry.
Okay.
And that was so we can keep the WP, WS, the Dobermans that are being registered. We kind of cull out the WZs. Now, because of the DCM and the genetics, we have people telling us we need to start introducing the non-albino carrying dogs into the gene pool.
Okay.
I have a problem with this because it was a mutated gene to begin with. What is it going to take to make a mutated gene again? Nobody can answer that question because we're talking about genes and they don't know. So if I did bring a Z dog into my breeding program and I get a white puppy 3 generations from now, that would not be good.
Sure.
So I don't breed into the Z dogs at all. I know they're loved. I know many people love the whites, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. I do not breed for albino for the fawn or the blue.
Okay.
I don't intentionally breed for those colors. They do have autoimmune issues. They have alopecia issues. They are prone to more skin issues. They are beautiful. They are beautiful dogs. The coloring, the markings, they're just beautiful. But it's not something that I would say, hey, I really think it's a good idea for you new Doberman person to go buy a blue one, because they do have issues.
Okay.
And I can say this, I had a blue one and I had a fawn one and I've been there and I talk from experience, and they just require a lot more. And again, they are beautiful.
Yeah.
So,
oh, cool.
The white Dobermans, the WZ Dobermans, from what I understand, the WZs cannot be in AKC confirmation. I don't know if that still holds true because they've been changing some things. They can be in all the other venues. So they can do dock diving, barn hunt, they can show in obedience and rally and agility. I know there's many people that are going to frown upon these people putting their dogs out there for the Joe public.
So about the melanistic?
Oh, the melanistic. The melanistic Dobermans are Dobermans without the tan markings. There are some people out there that like to breed them without what they call the rest markings. So you have a solid black Doberman, solid red Doberman, again, the blue and the fawn or the Isabella Dobermans without the rest markings are considered melanistic. I'm not sure exactly how they first came about. I do know that years ago, decades ago, they took other breeds. From what I understand, they bred the Doberman to a Gordon Setter to bring in sharper points because they wanted those rust markings. They didn't want them to be Wheaten. Every once in a while, due to those genetics, we will see a coated Doberman. Not that they're long-haired like a Gordon Setter, but they do have a heavier coat. But I don't know exactly where the melanistics came from. Again, they're putting these out there as rare and exotic. Anytime you
but
hear,
it's not recommended.
Absolutely
Stay away
not.
from it.
Absolutely not. And anytime I see rare, exotic in a breed, and it doesn't matter what breed it is, I want to run to the breed standard because every breed has a standard. And I want to read what is the blueprint for that dog, because color matters. People don't realize it. There are genetics linked to color that sometimes are very bad. I mean, alopecia is no joke. Nobody wants a bald dog. And the dilutes and the fawns have alopecia. Some dilutes are bred. They'll produce puppies that'll be black and rust, red and rust. Those dogs will also carry the alopecia genetics. So just because they're blue doesn't mean they have coat issues. They can continue that on if it's not stopped in the breeding programs.
Okay.
So again, like I said, I don't breed for them. Will I never get one? No. I never throw the baby out with the bathwater. I will not intentionally breed to a dilute dog or a female. I will breed to a litter mate if it's not dilute. I might breed to its father if I like the dog. Or I might breed to a sister or an aunt, but I won't breed intentionally for the dilute colors.
Okay. Okay. And she's going to elaborate on the Doberman Pinschers, and this is more lifestyle, dog food, dog bowls, just general stuff, shampooing, and that type of stuff that I think you'd be interested in. Let's first start with the question, why the Doberman? Why did this one grab your heart and it has you so excited every day and going through, having a litter, which is not easy, and all that stuff. You have to be passionate. This isn't for the faint at heart.
No. The Doberman has me hook, line, and sinker just for the pure fact that they're intelligent. They're so smart. They're so willing. They're just so there for me in every situation. Everything that comes up in life, they're there. And they want to be there. They want to, if you're sad, they're there to console you. If you're happy, they're there to be joyous with you. They just, I can't explain enough. They are just part of you. They want to be part of you. They want to be in your skin, literally. It's, right. I mean, it's Velcro, the Velcro dog, that is not a joke. They are the intelligence, the sensitivity, the
looks,
the apps. Well, the looks for me, yeah, they're beautiful. There's a lot of beautiful dogs out there. There's a lot of beautiful dogs out there. For me, the Doberman they're more in tune with the emotion of the human than the other dogs. Okay. I mean, yeah, Fifi will come over, a little fluffy poodle. She'll know you're sad. She'll sit on your lap. Your Doberman's going to come over and say, hey, what's wrong? Why aren't you being, today's 3:00. This is when we normally do this. Why are we not doing this? What's going on? They almost have this presence of your best friend being there. It's not just a dog. They're a Doberman. It's different.
Right.
And I mean, that kind of sounds snobby.
No, but it's cool. They're a special dog.
They're very special. And that's not, they're special in a way that I just can't put words to. It's once you have one, I tell people they're like potato chips, but they're worse. Because once you eat a potato chip, you got to have another one. It's the same with the Dobermans. They're just amazing, amazing dogs.
Right. That's cool. Regarding dog walking, how often do you walk the dog or just let him out? Or you mentioned you don't go to the park, but can you put a framework for people that are considering the dog, the commitment
daily,
that they need?
It would be daily, twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day, depending on the age of your dog, your dog's need for brain stimulation. A lot of toys, a lot of interactive toys. They have lick mats, which I love the lick mats. You freeze them. Okay. Put peanut butter on them, freeze them, put dog treats on them, freeze them. Your dog has to work at that. And they love it. They like their lick mats. It keeps them busy for a minute. Chew bones keep them busy for a minute. I love these people who are putting out, like I suggested earlier to a friend of mine, the yak milk bones. I love those yak milk bones, except for my dogs eat them. they're gone in minutes. It's just, okay. So the dogs need a lot more. Your 20-minute walk with your average dog isn't going to cut it with a Doberman. They're going to need more. Like I said, they need to go blow off steam. They're like a young horse. You see people turn a horse out in the arena. They rear up, they buck, they kick. Your Doberman's going to run around and they're going to leap into the air and they're going to chase butterflies and they're going to do basically the same.
Yeah. So you're saying you need to walk the Doberman 2 to 3 times a day, and you also need to give them room to run.
If you're giving
you got to have both of those in order to.
Right. If your Doberman has like a backyard, if you have property and you can take your dog out, open the door, let them go run, go throw a ball a couple of times, let them go entertain themselves. I have toys actually hanging from the trees at my house so the dogs can jump up and they play. They play with these objects. I do not walk my dogs. I don't have to because they're self-exercising. They're out there running around. They're playing with each other. Having 5 of them really helps because we have the Kentucky Derby that goes on
right.
making laps around the backyard. They come in the house, they lay down, they're tired. A tired dog is a good dog.
Yeah. And you have a few acres to
I
let
have
them run.
3 acres. The dogs have about an acre of their side. I have the rest of the property is for the family. The last thing I want to do is have my grandkids come over and find a landmine.
Right.
And it's very hard to clean up that much area with that many dogs.
Sure.
So
absolutely.
I have them contained.
Yeah.
But if I take my dogs for a walk to the lake, I take all of them. I walk 5 dogs at a time. People see me coming and it's like the parting of the seas, but I don't ever have any issues. My dogs are well behaved in public. They're trained not to drag me. Again, they're trained when they're little. I train them to walk on a leash when they're little. They're not allowed to pull me. They're not allowed to drag me. I'm getting older in age now and I can't have a dog pulling my shoulder out of socket. I train them when they're little and young not to pull me. There are I see people with pinch collars and choke chains and all this stuff on these dogs. And those are tools. Yes, they're training tools, but at some point they become a crutch. And I feel that, my opinion, they're unnecessary in a lot of situations.
Okay.
So,
no,
if that makes sense.
For sure.
So if you train your dog to be the dog that you want your dog to be in public, when you take them out in public, they're going to act the way, kind of like kids.
Right.
Take your kids out in public. So
good for the audience to know pinch collars, choke collars, they're okay in moderation. For training purposes.
Right. And know how to use them because they can be used incorrectly.
Definitely.
And it's, the Doberman has a health issue called CVI, which is wobblers, which is a neck issue. The last thing you want to be doing is yanking on his neck. Again, training. Teach the dog to walk with you. Heel.
Yeah, for sure.
Eliminate that problem.
So what kind of dog food do you feed?
I'm feeding right now a brand called Wholesomes. It's a salmon and rice. It's a salmon-based salmon protein. Rice is the filler. It's for sensitive. It says sensitive skin and stomach. I don't have sensitive skin and stomach issues. This just happens to be the food that I found that has no estrogen increasing ingredients and no taurine blockers.
Okay.
So that is why I'm using that food. It comes in an all-stage brand. It comes in a high-protein brand. The all-stage brand is a 22% protein. The all-stage is a 24% protein, but it also comes in lamb. So I'm actually mixing the 3.
Okay.
So I'm getting the 2 different types of protein. I'm getting a little higher protein in the large breed. I think the lamb is a 23% protein. So I'm staying right there between 24% protein, but that prevents my puppies who I wean on this dog food and raise up on this dog food from getting pano, which is it's a calcium, phosphorus, protein ingredients, but if they have to be certain levels, because if the levels are off, then your puppy develops growing pains, growing issues in their bones. So this is a food that I've been feeding now for going on almost 18 months. I've raised 2 litters of puppies on these so far and have had no issues.
Very good. Very good.
So,
Thank you for sharing that.
Everybody, people are funny about the dog food. You hear this brand or that brand. Right. And for me, I don't care what it's called. And I don't care who makes it.
Yeah, it's the ingredients you're looking at.
It's the ingredients. It's so important. They just have things in there that I don't want to give to my dogs.
Yeah, understood.
Will it make a difference? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have to wait and find out.
Right.
If your breeder has old dogs in the house, they're doing something right.
Yeah.
That old dog laying on the couch means something.
Sure. Absolutely.
That old dog means something to a breeder. When we dedicate our lives to a breed, there's nothing like going into somebody's house.
Longevity is the holy grail.
Exactly.
Okay.
Having grandma laying on the couch. I love that. That's so important.
Cool. I didn't put that together, but yeah.
It is really, really important.
Yeah, thank you for emphasizing that for the audience, for sure. Bowl type, do you do raised bowls? Are they on the ground? Stainless steel, plastic? What's your...
I have had a variety, and I've learned my dog's chins will break out if I don't use stainless steel. They get little like pimples on their chin.
Sure.
And I used to fight with this all the time because, you go to the store, you buy the dog bowl that looks like a dog bowl, it's plastic, throw it in the dishwasher, no problem. My dogs would get their breaks out on their chins. So I was talking to another breeder of mine, and she says, "Oh, don't use plastic. No plastic, no plastic, no plastic, because there's bacteria that gets in there."
Heard too.
And so I have always used stainless steel. I feed my dogs in the crates. So my dogs go in their crates because I have some fatty McFats.
Okay.
And no, she can't eat everybody else's food, and she will. So she is my older female, Candy. And Candy, the youngers will say, "Oh, Candy's here, I'll back off." And they'll walk away from their food. And Candy doesn't need to eat their food too. So I feed my dogs locked up in their crates, and this is just what I do. They're not elevated. I know some people do elevate them, but having a Doberman in a 36-inch crate, it's hard to have the bowl elevated and give the dog's head enough room.
Understood.
So I just feed them, on the bottom of the crate. The bowls are picked up, taken to the sink. I rinse them out with hot water. At night, when I do my dishes and I clean my kitchen up before I go to bed, everything goes in the dishwasher, my dog bowls included, and they get a nice hot wash, and they start off the next morning clean. Dog bowls are also my water bowls. I guess there's technically salad bowls. They're big.
Okay.
They're big round silver bowls. And I have 3 or 4 of them. I have one outside, I have one in the house, I have one in the garage. Just depending on where my dogs are, I'm constantly filling up water bowls. I'm constantly rinsing them. They go in the dishwasher at night. Everybody gets fresh water first thing in the morning. And I just want to make sure I don't have any bacteria, growing in the water.
Absolutely.
So that's what I do for my dog bowls.
For your water bowls.
For the water bowls and the dog food bowls.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And you don't use a dog food container?
No. I have a container. I have a long bin. It's like for storing blankets. I think I got it at Walmart. And I can put my 3 bags of dog food because I buy the salmon, the all stage, I buy the large breed, and I buy the lamb. And I can stack them in my bin. And they fit right in my bin. And I can put the lid on it. Keeps the dogs out of it. But I don't take the food out of the bag.
Gotcha.
Just to keep it fresh. Now, right now, I have, as of this morning, I had 9 puppies and my 5 adults. I was feeding 50 cups of dog food a day. I could have put the dog food in a plastic bin. It wouldn't have lasted. It wouldn't have gone bad. But I've heard that there's something in the plastic that breaks down and the dog food goes bad. So I leave it in the bag that it comes to me in. And I don't I just mix it out of the bags.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have all 3 of those types of food that you
Yes, I
mentioned?
do.
Okay.
Yes, I do. And I just do equal parts.
Yeah, a little bit. Scoop, 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 scoop,
Exactly.
scoop,
Exactly.
so on and so forth.
So if I'm going to put my big bowl.
So that way you know they're getting nutrients, all the different nutrients that you want.
Exactly. And equal amounts of
Sure.
it as well. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
So
that's a good idea.
that
I've
way,
never heard of that before.
I just want to make sure it's fresh and it doesn't mold. You know, I don't let my dog food exposed to the air.
Very
so it's
good.
in a sealed container.
Sure.
I try really hard to keep my Fatty McFat fat, because if the bin lid is off, she will go over there and she'll put her head in the bag.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that everything is, kept up
Absolutely.
from her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dog washing, you kind of brushed on this a little bit, no pun intended,
right.
brushed up on it.
They're wash and wear.
And you just use a normal shampoo?
I like to get the baby shampoo.
The baby shampoo.
The baby shampoo, because it's gentle on their skin, and they don't have much hair on the underneath sides. They have their armpits,
Sure.
their thighs, their tummies, very little hair. So I use a very mild soap with a moisturizer in it. I like the smell of the lavender nighttime baby bath soap. That's what I like, the smell of that. So I like to wash my dogs in that, because they smell
pretty good.
They smell very good. And I make sure I rinse everybody off really, really good. That's the key. When you bathe them, make sure you rinse them off really, really well.
How often do you wash?
Not very.
Not very often.
Not very often.
You're not supposed to.
Well, I always worry because, the hair follicles on the Doberman are short and stiff. And I worry about washing the natural oils out of their coat and then causing a problem.
Yeah.
So I don't do it very often. Like I think I hit on the last video, if your dog is smelly, 9 times out of 10, it's their ears. It's the earwax. And we don't think about, we're cleaning our ears. Yeah, we do.
Right.
We get out of the shower, and what do? Clean our ears. The dogs, they don't have any way to clean their ears. So I get an over-the-counter canine ear cleaner with a drying agent in it. And I will put it in a bowl of warm water. I warm it up. Take them outside on the patio, give a little squirt in each ear, work it in.
Okay.
Take a cotton ball, dry it up. I might do it. If the cotton ball comes out real dirty, I'll do it 2 or 3 times.
Right.
To give them a good squirt and let them go shake their head.
Yeah.
And those ears will, with the drying agent, it'll dry out the ears, and it won't leave any moisture in there to cause bacteria or yeast or anything.
Sure. Yeah, I know with our dog, they would always try and rub their ear on you, almost to say, can you clean it?
Can you fix this for me?
Can you fix this for me, please? Dog beds? Do you use dog beds or not?
I personally do not use dog beds. I find that the dog bed becomes a source of major fluff left in my home. Okay. They don't leave them intact. I know some people have those big, cushy, beautiful
They chew them
beds.
up, is that what?
Well, my dogs, they start to dig. And they'll do circles, and they start to dig. And then they end up with a little tiny hole.
Oh, they love that little tiny hole.
And that little tiny hole has a little piece of fluff, and they start pulling the fluff out. And then pretty quick, you have a fluffy room and a dissected dog bed carcass. And you've just spent all this money on this expensive dog bed, and for what? To have your dog murder it. And it doesn't take them long. I mean, right. you go to bed at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, you wake up at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning to start your day, and your dog now has a fluff. It's not pretty.
So they just lay on the rug, or
I actually
you have them on the couch.
My dogs sleep on my furniture. My furniture does have blankets on it. I have blankets that I purchase from our wonderful store, Walmart. They have no fluff. They're just a single layered blanket. Nothing. If they do chew the blanket, which Dobermans are destructive, you will have what I call the holy blanket, and it's pick it up and it looks like Swiss cheese.
Sure.
They do like to chew on their blankets. Some Dobermans are what they call blanket suckers, and I'm on the fence about this because I've been told that it's neurological and it's something that's genetic, that some dogs just do. And then I've been told it's a learned habit. So if you have a dog in your house that chews on blankets, a puppy will learn that habit from that other dog. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay.
So,
okay.
But I worry about the dogs ingesting any kind of fluff. So I just give them these blankets. So if they do eat a piece of it, it's going to go through.
Sure.
So,
who would you recommend not get a Doberman Pinscher?
So I thought about that. I put a lot of thought to that. People who live in apartments, people who don't have access to being able to take their dog out and go for that run to blow off that steam, people who don't have access to the park.
It's just not good for the dog.
It's not good for the dog. The dog needs to have more space. Now, for those people who are insisting they want a Doberman, but they do live in an apartment, get a Doberman that's retired.
That's a good idea.
Find that person.
The rescue.
Find a rescue.
Or a breeder that has an older dog.
Exactly.
Which is out there.
The breeders. So there's breeders out there who will get their puppy, raise their puppy up. They go get their championship title, their grand championship title. She is then bred once or twice, maybe 3 times to get a couple litters of puppies. Then she's there. Then the breeder has this dog taking up the space. Some breeders will keep that dog forever. She'll be spayed. She'll live in the bed. That's fine. That's great. Some people don't have room in their house to have that female who they've just done all this work with, plus her mother, plus her grandmother, and then the new puppy. Because remember, we want that old dog on the couch. So rehoming your retired show dogs that don't require that exercise. That don't require, because they're older. They'd like to go for a walk around the block, but they don't want to go spend 30 minutes running in the field.
Right.
They're older.
So there's other options than just getting a puppy.
Right. There are other options other than getting a puppy. Because a dog can hurt you in a heartbeat. And they can hurt you bad. So it's, just be very, careful. Very careful.
So, awards and ribbons. Gonna let her brag on herself a little bit.
2014, the Doberman Pinscher Club of America had a national in California, and 2 of my girls, Sonia and Abby, Garjan's the Dream Weaver, and Abby was Garjan's Dare to Dream. Both won their classes at the largest Doberman show in the country.
Wow.
And I went there with 0 expectations. And when to have my girls win their classes, and there was a lot of beautiful dogs there. And that was my all-time brag. That was my all-time brag. That is the best for me. I have many champions out there who I've placed in show homes with other people. They get the credit. I bred the puppy, but they get the credit. They're the ones that took the puppy and took it to the training classes and took it to handling classes. They're the ones that drove the miles to go to the shows. They're the ones that paid the hotel expenses, the entry fees, the handling fees for the professional handlers. They're the ones that get the credit for the champions that they made.
Like a good mom.
Well, they made these champions for me. They did that for me. And I appreciate each and every one of them. I love them heart and soul. And they're going to watch this podcast and they're going to say, I know she's crying. I'm not quite crying yet, but without them, without the support that I have from so many people, whether they agree with me or not, they're still there supporting me. They are my cheerleaders just as I am their cheerleaders. We all have our own niches that we fit into. And when it comes to our dogs and it comes to our breed, you will see us stand elbow to elbow, whether we agree on everything or not. When it comes to our breed, we stand elbow to elbow and we defend each other. That's what that's what this is. That's camaraderie.
Exactly. Yeah. Because it's not easy to partake in all this stuff.
No.
It's expensive.
Very.
It takes up a lot of time.
Very.
I mean, if you don't have a good support system,
exactly,
nobody would be doing it.
Exactly. And we do have fantastic mentors out there. We have people out there who will start, our trail. The trail is a trail, and then it'll go off this way. And we're going to say, oh, but look here. And then we have these people going, yeah, but if you see this, do you really want to go this way, or do you want to get back? You need to, and they let us sway a little bit, but they'll bring us back on track.
Okay.
and then we'll sway a little this way, but they'll bring us back on track. And it's whether it's breeding, showing, handling, training, we all try our best. There's not one way that is the right way. There's many ways that are the right ways. And we support each other with that,
Cool.
And it's just so important that we have each other's back.
Yeah, that's exciting. That's cool.
It is very.
It's a very good environment.
It is a wonderful environment. The Doberman is. I'm going to say this. The Doberman is kind of a divided breed, because we have what I call my glorified throw pillows for my furniture, and my dogs are very easy to live with. And then we have working dogs who they're wound up. They are really, really wound up. And we have those breeders that are breeding those dogs for certain events. My dogs could do what her dogs do. Would they enjoy it? They're going to do it because I'm asking them to. Her dogs love it.
Right.
Her dogs are out there going, yeah, I want to do this. I want to run 60 miles an hour across the field and knock that guy on his head, And they do this stuff.
Or like the jumping.
Or whatever it is. Because we have these dogs out there that are trained to do certain events that are phenomenal. I sit back and I watch my friends that are doing these performance, the IPO work, the Schuschützen work, the bite work. There's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way. Could my dogs do it? They could. Would they love it? Probably not. They would do it because, hey, mom's saying I need to do this. I'm going to go do this. So you have the division in the breeds. We have working dogs that will not excel in the conformation ring because they're in the conformation ring going, what's next? What's next? Where do I go? What do I do? Because they're looking for that stimulation. Mm-hmm. Where the show dogs, the conformation show dogs are like, I'm beautiful. Look at me. I'm a runway model. It's like Paris Hilton, and the more stuck up your Doberman is in the conformation ring, the better they do. They're very flamboyant. They go out there. You can watch the videos, and we have a handler who she's beautiful. She handles beautifully, and her dogs are 7-8 feet away from her, just hit this perfect stance, and it's breathtaking.
Yeah. For
me. But for my friends that do the IPO work, they're like, it's a sissy dog. She's a sissy. So it's just,
it's different.
It's different.
Yeah, it doesn't make it wrong.
But when it comes down to it, we're going to stand elbow to elbow and we're going to defend our breed.
That's cool.
So that's what we have in the Doberman community.
Awesome. We good?
We're good.
Okay. Thank you so much for watching the podcast and YouTube video. And stay tuned for the next one. Okay. Thanks. Bye.